What's poppin', y'all? Lyor Cohen. If you don't know who he is, then you've surely heard his name spoken of by countless rappers that you know of really well. On one side of the spectrum, you have Kanye West mentioning Lyor in his lyrics as a sign of luxury, with Ye on the song Devil in a New Dress referring to himself as the Lyor Cohen of Dior Homme. That's Dior Homme, not Dior Homie. Kanye West's album My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy that this song comes from was distributed by Def Jam, so it makes sense that Lyor Cohen, the man who helped transform Def Jam into the powerhouse that Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin built, was looked up to as a sign of success that Kanye had an up-close view of. But then there are other rappers that have questioned whether Lyor's impact on rap music has been all good or with its own issues. Mos Def, now known as Yassine Bey, hopped on the Kanye West produced beat from Jay-Z's song Takeover and recorded the 2004 track The Rape Over, where he says corporate forces running this rap stuff, some tall Israeli is running this rap, in a song that raises questions about companies raising profits off rap by raising up the number of songs containing sex, drugs, and violence. It also raised a lot of eyebrows. If these rich and famous rappers were bragging about bravado, about how they ran the rap game while wearing pricey jewelry and sporting luxury watches and vehicles, was this just exaggerated entertainment? Were rappers taking all the risk with highly publicized beef that had real-life consequences, while the notoriety and fame that forced them to walk the streets with protection turned into lucrative jackpots for executives like Cohen who could quietly cash in? As someone that has worked with everyone from Public Enemy and DMX to Young Thug and T Grizzly, why is Lyor Cohen such a divisive figure, both celebrated and viewed as hip-hop's biggest supervillain? How did Lyor Cohen, born to Israeli immigrants in 1959, raised in LA with a degree in global marketing and finance from the pricey higher learning institution, the University of Miami, and previously working in the Beverly Hills office of Bank Leumi, able to link up with Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin, the founders of Def Jam rap music empire, and became a pivotal part of this profitable party. Lyor Cohen became known in the industry for his brash, no-nonsense negotiating skills and aggressive approach to doing business. It all began with Lyor leaving his comfortable position at this Israeli bank to promote a series of progressive and rap and punk music concerts at the Mix Club in Hollywood, starting in 1984 with his first ever show featuring Run DMC on the bill, where he borrowed $700 from his mother towards it and claiming that he ended up making $36,000. The second event featured another classic hip-hop group of the 80s, Houdini, and before you know it, Cohen moved to New York City in order to take on a position at Russell Simmons' Rush Productions, which would eventually be later called Rush Artist Management. Step one at Rush Productions, ironically, was for Lyor to work much more directly with some of the artists that he previously booked for concerts back in California. Lyor became Run DMC's road manager, with additional responsibilities that included assisting with the growing all-star Rush roster that had the likes of LL Cool J, Beastie Boys, Public Enemy, Curtis Blow, Jimmy Spicer, Spider D, Sparky D, and the before-mentioned Houdini. By the time the calendar switched over to 1987, Lyor Cohen had bigged up to the point that he was in position to start signing artists to Rush himself. Some of these new signees that Lyor Cohen got to roll with Rush included Eric B. and Rakim, Slick Rick, Big Daddy Kane, De La Soul, A Tribe Called Quest, Brand Nubian, Grand Poobah, Leaders of the New School, EPMD, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. So you've clearly got a number of legends on that roster. Basically, Lyor Cohen had helped Russell Simmons gain a monopoly of the top talent in hip-hop on the management side, whether they were signed to Def Jam directly or not. Lyor Cohen's bold business acumen and marketing and promotion background into high gear as he helped several rappers in the Rush management family go from not just rocking clubs and stadiums, but also rocking trendy fashion brands. It was Lyor who actually brokered Run DMC's historic endorsement deal with the Adidas footwear company, the sneakers that they were previously rapping about in their music, and it turned it into a must-have shoe for their fans. The Run DMC and Adidas contract became one of the first high commercial deals that a rap group has ever earned. It didn't just start and stop with Adidas. LL Cool J became the spokesman for the Bronx-based Troop sportswear brand, and the duo Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince became rap representatives for the long-lasting French sportswear company Le Coq Sportif. In 1988, Lyor Cohen became president of Def Jam and its Rush-associated labels, known as RAL, after winning a tug-of-war for power with Rick Rubin, Def Jam's original founder, who left and formed his own label, Def American Recordings. Rick decided to publicly drop the word Def from the front of Def American Recordings after finding out that the term became way too mainstream and was actually in the dictionary. As a sidebar, Rubin actually held a fake funeral for the word Def that had celebrities come out to mourn the death of the slang word, a casket and grave for it, and even the Reverend Al Sharpton was in attendance, who provided a eulogy for it. When Rush Associated Labels was formed in 1989, its objective was to profit off of the ability of established recording artists to identify brand new talent and sign them up to their own smaller boutique record label that would be run through the Def Jam system. Kind of like rappers signing rappers. Some would call it a pyramid. This business model of Def Jam becoming the home for other record labels proved to be lucrative for the company throughout the 90s, with deals stacking up with Run DMC's Jam Master Jay opening up JMJ Records, which brought Onyx to Def Jam in 1992, and J.O. Felony in 1994, as well as the late 90s and early 2000s success of Jay-Z coming out under Rockefeller Records as a co-founder and an artist. DMX blowing up with the support of Rough Riders Entertainment, and Ja Rule's explosion with Murder Inc. It wasn't just other record labels that Lyor Cohen was grooming in the Def Jam system. There were also countless music executives that he worked with and mentored that have all grown big in their own rights. Chris Lighty, the Violator label and management and marketing brand, Kevin Liles would move up into Lyor Cohen's president post at Def Jam and would follow Lyor Cohen over to Warner and 300 Entertainment. Todd Moskowitz, as another Lyor Cohen associate that helped Lyor start 300, would become CEO of Warner Brothers Records and is currently the CEO and founder of Alamo Records and managed Gucci Mane. Julie Greenwald is not just the chairwoman and chief operating officer at Atlantic Records, but she helped launch the careers of enormous stars like Cardi B, Bruno Mars, and Ed Sheeran. Lyor's magic touch has also benefited Mike Kaiser, who is the president of Black Music at Atlantic Records. Even with all these accomplishments under his belt, Lyor Cohen has still managed to upset a few rappers who have spoken out on their dealings with him, including Offset from Migos, who talked to Complex stating, 300 was the biggest hurdle. They tried to hold us against our will. It was never no in-house hurdles we ever had, like where it had been a problem. With 300, that was the biggest thing, going through times and situations with them. And we still did them right, left them a nice piece of work. The CEO of Quality Control, P, backed up Offset by revealing, I'm going to stand behind him on that, because for 18 months we couldn't sell no product. Whatever that was already out, that was already on iTunes or whatever, that was cool. But anything that we was putting out, it was like we was shackled down. Look at My Dad was one of the biggest songs of that year. We had the athletes doing it. You had the kids. Everybody was doing it. But you ain't see it on iTunes. You see what I'm saying? We couldn't sell it. We couldn't stream it because we was in a battle. We got a company saying, y'all can't put no music out. We ain't letting y'all sell nothing. This is the biggest group in the world right now. Somebody trying to stunt their growth, and it was a big challenge because they depend on us. They trust us with their career, their life, and we're still trying to build the company, and our biggest asset has been held down. You feel what I'm saying? We didn't make no money off of that. We didn't make $1. I mean, they were still continuing doing shows, but we couldn't sell the actual product. Back when Migos came out saying that Lyor Cohen's company 300 had held them back for a year and a half, preventing them from releasing music via the label Quality Control that 300 was backing, Lyor's reply was, it kind of worked out for them, right? It worked out fine. Listen, 300 was designed for artist development, and my favorite Migos record is The First Culture, to tell you the truth. So everybody has to make their decisions. I'm only in the spirit of positivity, and so I'm happy with how everything turned out. I'm glad that I did what I did. I have no regrets, and I think that things worked out pretty well for them. If I were them, I'd just simply focus on their craft and their fans. You know what I'm saying? It was estimated by Quality Control leader Coach K that these internal conflicts with 300 cost Quality Control over $500,000 in legal expenses to free themselves from the grip of their complicated deal with 300 in 2016. Another record label co-founder that has been dissatisfied with his Lyor Cohen dealings and has even gone so far as to label the man a quote-unquote culture vulture at one point is Dame Dash of Rockefeller Records, Jay-Z's musical home until later forming his own Rock Nation legacy. Dame Dash hopped on DJ Vlad on July 7, 2014 and said, my beef was with Lyor because I think he's a fake CEO. I think he's fronting on my culture. He can't front on anybody else. I'm calling him out publicly, and I want him to stop raping my culture. Go make some money with some other people. Like, stop having your agenda be hip hop. When Joey was like, our agenda to open up Asylum was the goal, it didn't say anything about going to get no rock and roll. It was going to get people that they don't even care about and make money from them. Yeah, just get money in their culture, let them do it. Let the violence stay there. Let's benefit from the violence and not bring it. But it was like they have people that their job is to create beef so they can monetize it. But they don't let their culture feel it. But they make money from it. And they can't make any money or get any respect in their culture. That's why they're in our culture, because the minute that they're allowed to be here, they would go. But they just can't. The question should be, why don't you do something besides rap? And if you're all into rap, what have you done to give back to the community? At one point in time, Kenyatta Griggs, the CEO of Hip Hop Motivation, was also Dame Dash's business partner and previously addresses his take on the Lyor Cohen conflict. Lyor Cohen was very influential of Jay-Z breaking away from Dame and Biggs at the time to go corporate because he wanted him to actually reach a larger audience, which that is understandable as far as, business goes. But it turned into him alienating his brothers. He went that route and believed in what Lyor Cohen was telling them, which was a form of torturous interference. That's irresponsible for him to do that within the business, and with him, he was with Def Jam to divide the company. He had a lot to do with breaking that company up, and who knows what we would have seen if Rockefeller stayed together with all those great groups. It's a common criticism of the music industry in general that they have been promoting rappers who glamorize drug use. When Lyor Cohen talked with The Breakfast Club in 2018, co-host Charlemagne asked Lyor Cohen directly why would he sign an artist that would promote using drugs in their music, after Lyor Cohen said he was very against drugs. Lyor's response ruffled a lot of feathers and got plenty of his critics riled up when he said, I can't give up on people. It's opportunistic. Yeah, I got people to feed. I got a business to run. In the same interview, Lyor Cohen even went as far as to say he doesn't know Dame Dash, as if their past business dealings never happened. Sure, you could read this as Lyor is saying he doesn't know Dame Dash anymore because they have no relationship or open line of communication between each other. But to some people, it only poured more salt on the culture vulture wounds that Dame Dash spoke of, as if Dame was out of sight and out of mind, no longer worth anything to Lyor. Then there was the time that hip-hop veteran Lord Jamar and member of the hip-hop group Brand Nubian spoke about his personal theory that Lyor might have been using divide and conquer tactics to contribute to the breaking up of several hip-hop groups or alienating members, like not just Professor Griff from Public Enemy, but maybe even influencing Busta Rhymes to leave Leaders of the New School and Grand Puba when he originally left Brand Nubian. Lord Jamar spoke on an August 2018 episode of his podcast and said, upon reflection, I believe this guy had a hand in breaking up Brand Nubian early. Like, there was a lot of people in Puba's ear at that time, and I bet you he was one of them. And you know what people call him? Lyor Cohen, right? Like Dame Dash has called him that. But the first person I ever heard call him that? Charlie Brown from the Leaders of the New School. I remember back in the days, long time ago, he was like, yo, F Lyor, effing a liar. That's why his name is Liar. I was like, yo, that's kind of deep. But he was like, yo, he's a liar. I don't know exactly what the beef was at the time, but I remember him calling him Lyor Cohen. You see what I'm saying? If we look at it, he might have been a pattern of divide and conquer with this guy across time and hip-hop. Lyor Cohen has talked about artist development and his passion for this often missing element in the music business. I love artist development. I actually spend less time with broken artists than I do with artists that are on the verge of breaking. That's what I'm interested in. Some say he's interested in it because he can get far more leverage on deals with these type of artists. My perverse interest all my life has been the moment an artist crosses that line from obscurity to celebrity. That's interesting to me. And I've seen it go so haywire so many times that I like to be there to help them understand what's important. Like, you understand there's a lot of evil forces out here for young kids that have just got on. After the tragic passing of one of Def Jam's premium stars, DMX, there were several outcries of people taking issue with the ways in which Lyor publicly responded to X's death with Billboard. Once it kicked off, I wasn't surprised. I always kind of knew it was a race against time. The more thoughtful, loving, and rational person was Earl Simmons, and the key in my mind was, how do we let Earl Simmons know that he's valued and people care about him? When fans saw him, they wanted X. I think the issue was Earl didn't know how to survive as DMX became more famous. Earl didn't find a place in that. Earl didn't have the time to be recognized. So the race against time was X was a gremlin, reckless, and looking for a wall to crash into. His death is no surprise if you listened to and watched what X was. I think it's a tragedy because I wish people knew Earl, the fisherman, who loved to be with his kids and talk about deep things. He He was curious about the world and interested in other people's opinions. When it comes to the countless criticism that Lyor Cohen has had flung in his direction, does it penetrate him enough to be concerned about being categorized as the quote-unquote greedy music executive stereotype? It's not challenging at all because I go home to my gorgeous family and my friends who know me, and I don't pay attention to all the elbows and the criticism that gets flung at us or me. I don't really care about it. I have thick skin, and I know what my motivation is. My motivation is to help grow the artistic base, and you grow the artistic base by building a platform. It makes it easy for artists and songwriters to build an audience, but also to create a way for them to earn a living. I personally believe that it's great that we have a great reach, but we have to also have the ability to pay the music industry lots of money. If we pay them lots of money, that means more artists can talk to their parents about being artists. More songwriters can be songwriters. And it makes the world just a better place to live. I don't pay attention to the criticism because I know every day I wake up to those two things, reach and money, for artists and songwriters. During an All That Matters discussion with TIO's Lars Brandl and the head of one of Def Jam's earliest signed groups, Chuck D from Public Enemy, this is how Lyor Cohen summed up his opinion on what the future holds for hip-hop music. I never was a weatherman. I never tried to predict the future. The future is going to be decided by some kid in a garage with supportive parents. I don't know what the machine is going to be this time. I almost tanked the company. I invested all this money in Def Jam companies all around the world and spent a bunch. I had the right idea, it was just a little early. One of the things that I was early about was simply because all the rappers overseas felt that they were appropriating rap music, and so they didn't want to make it their own. They just simply mimicked American rappers. It was only till some kid said, "F that, I have something to say," and they said it in their own way, and they were liberated in their expression, and that's when the art form got a passport. Lyor Cohen has gone from Def Jam president to chairman and chief executive at Warner Music Group, where he oversaw the pivotal Elektra label merging into Atlantic. He was part of the deal between YouTube and Warner to allow YouTube to stream music in partnership and get basically license their music to them, as well as early on in Spotify in 2011, to being a co-founder of 300 Entertainment, one of the people who created the 360 deal, and he's now settled into his current position for the past years as the global head of music at YouTube. Ultimately, this means that Lyor Cohen has gone from influencing the physical discovery of rappers from Def Jam, Warner, and 300 to quite literally the digital video platform YouTube, where most of us discover music online. Whether you see him as a hip-hop superhero or supervillain or perhaps even anti-hero, Lyor Cohen's footprint in the rap music industry and industry as a whole is quickly approaching the 40-year mark. And going off of his reputation, he's probably too busy to care about anyone who dislikes him in the first place. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Peace.